cold night in Chicago. The December wind cut through Chicago's downtown streets like frozen blades. Natalie Brooks pulled her thin jacket tighter around her body, but it did nothing against the bitter cold. She had just finished a double shift at the diner. 14 hours of carrying heavy trays and forcing smiles at customers who barely tipped. Her feet ached in her worn sneakers, and her head felt light. She needed to get home. Her small studio apartment was still 30 minutes away by bus, and the next one would not arrive for another 20 minutes. Natalie leaned against a brick wall outside a closed bakery, trying to catch her breath. When had she last eaten? Yesterday morning? Maybe. She had sent most of her paycheck to her mother in Texas for medical bills. That left barely enough for rent, nothing for groceries. The street blurred in front of her eyes. The Christmas lights strung between buildings became streaks of color. Her knees buckled. She tried to grab the wall, but her hands would not cooperate. The sidewalk rushed up to meet her. Natalie hit the cold concrete hard. Pain shot through her shoulder, but she could not move. People walked past her boots and high heels, stepping around her like she was just another piece of trash on the city street. She heard voices. Is she drunk? Probably homeless. Just keep walking. Her vision darkened. The cold seeped into her bones. This is how it ends, she thought. Alone on a freezing sidewalk while the world walks by, then everything went black, waking up in another world warmth. That was the first thing Natalie noticed. Soft warmth surrounding her body, then light, gentle and golden, not harsh like the streetlights. She tried to open her eyes, but her eyelids felt heavy. Her vitals are stabilizing, a male voice said. Calm, professional. Blood pressure is coming up? She should wake soon. How bad is it? Another voice, deeper with an edge of concern. Severe dehydration, malnutrition, exhaustion. Another few hours out there and we might have lost her. You did the right thing bringing her here. Natalie forced her eyes open. The ceiling above her was high and white with modern light fixtures. This was not a hospital. She turned her head slowly. She was lying on a large leather couch in what looked like an expensive living room. Floor-to-ceiling windows showed the Chicago skyline lit up against the night sky. She was high up, maybe 30 floors or more. A man in his 50s wearing a suit stood nearby, putting medical equipment back into a black bag. Next to him stood another man, younger, maybe early 30s. He was tall, with dark hair and sharp features. He wore an expensive charcoal sweater and dark jeans. His eyes, a striking gray color, were fixed on her with an intensity that made her breath catch. Welcome back, the younger man said. His voice was the deeper one she had heard. Try not to move too quickly. Natalie tried to sit up anyway. The room spun. Strong hands caught her shoulders, steadying her. The younger man had moved fast. He was right beside her now, his hands firm but gentle. Easy, he said. You collapsed on State Street. You have been unconscious for 3 hours. Where am I? Natalie's voice came out as a whisper, her throat dry. Oh, my home. I'm Dylan Ashford. He nodded toward the older man. This is Dr. Benjamin Walsh, my personal physician. Dr. Walsh stepped forward with a bottle of water and some pills. Take these. They will help. Small sips only. Natalie took the water with shaking hands. The cool liquid felt like heaven on her parched throat. Why did you bring me here? You should have called an ambulance. Dylan sat down in a chair across from her, giving her space. I did call one. They said it would be 40 minutes. You were lying on the sidewalk, barely breathing, and people were stepping over you like you did not exist. I could not leave you there. So you just took a stranger to your home? I had Dr. Walsh come immediately. You were safe the entire time. Natalie looked down at herself. She was still wearing her diner uniform, though someone had taken off her shoes and covered her with a soft blanket. Thank you, but I should go now. I have work tomorrow. You need to rest, Dr. Walsh said firmly. At least 24 hours? Your body is shutting down from exhaustion. Cannot afford to miss work. I will call your employer, Dylan said. What's the name of the place? No, you do not understand. I cannot lose this job. I need the money for my mom's medical bills. Dylan leaned forward, his elbows on his knees. Tell me about your mother. Something in his voice made Natalie pause. There was genuine interest there, not pity. Against her better judgment, she found herself talking. She has heart problems. She needs surgery, but insurance only covers part of it. I send her everything I can, but it's never enough. I work 2 jobs, but after rent and bills, there's barely anything left. Where does she live? Texas, small town outside Austin. I have not seen her in 2 years. Cannot afford the bus ticket? Dylan was quiet for a long moment, studying her face. Dr. Walsh excused himself, saying he would check back in the morning. After he left, Dylan stood and walked to the windows, his back to her. 5 years ago, my younger sister Grace collapsed on a street corner in New York, he said quietly. She was a teacher, barely making ends meet. She had a heart condition but could not afford treatment. By the time someone called for help, it was too late. Natalie felt her throat tighten. I am so sorry. Dylan turned to face her. When I saw you lying there tonight, for a moment, I saw her. I could not save Grace, but I could help you. Will you let me? An offer she cannot refuse. The next morning, Natalie woke up in a guest bedroom that was bigger than her entire apartment. Sunlight streamed through sheer curtains. She sat up slowly, relieved that the dizziness was gone. On a chair near the bed, she found clean clothes, soft gray sweatpants, and a cream sweater. They fit perfectly. She found Dylan in the kitchen, cooking breakfast. The sight was so unexpected that she stopped in the doorway. This man, who clearly had money, was standing at the stove, flipping pancakes like it was the most natural thing in the world. Good morning, he said without turning around. How do you feel? Better. Confused, but better. You cook? Grace taught me. She said everyone should know how to take care of themselves. He plated the pancakes and gestured to the kitchen island. Sit, eat. The food was simple, but delicious. Fresh fruit, pancakes, eggs, orange juice. Natalie ate slowly, aware that her stomach needed to adjust. Dylan sat across from her with coffee, watching her with those intense gray eyes. I made some calls this morning, he said. About your mother. Natalie's fork stopped halfway to her mouth. What kind of calls? The surgery she needs costs $60,000, correct? I have arranged to have it paid in full. The best cardiac surgeon in Texas will perform the operation next week. The fork clattered onto the plate. You cannot be serious. I am completely serious. That is insane. You do not even know me. I cannot accept that. Why not? Because I could never pay you back. It would take me years, maybe my whole life. Dylan set down his coffee cup. I do not want you to pay me back. I want to help, but why? People do not just give away that kind of money. I told you why. I could not save Grace, but I can help you save your mother. Please, Natalie, let me do this. Tears burned in Natalie's eyes. She had been strong for so long, holding everything together by sheer will. Now this stranger was offering her the one thing she had been desperately praying for. I do not know what to say. Say yes. Stay here for a few days while you recover. Let me make the arrangements. Then you can go see your mother and be there for her surgery. Tears spilled over. Natalie covered her face with her hands, her shoulders shaking. She felt the chair next to her move, then Dylan's presence beside her. He did not touch her, just sat close, a steady presence. Why are you really doing this? She whispered through her tears. 'Cause everyone deserves someone in their corner. Because walking past people who need help has become too normal in this world. Because maybe, just maybe, I can make one thing right. Natalie looked up at him. His face was serious, but there was something vulnerable in his eyes. This was not just about her or her mother. This was about his own grief, his own need to save someone when he could not save the person he loved most. Okay, she whispered. Yes, thank you. Dylan's face softened with something that looked like relief. Good. Now finish your breakfast. You need to build your strength back up. As Natalie ate, she watched him move around the kitchen, putting dishes away, making more coffee. She had woken up in a stranger's home, but somehow, sitting in this bright kitchen with the Chicago skyline spread out before them, she did not feel like a stranger anymore. What she did not know was that this was only the beginning. That the man who had saved her life would soon come to mean so much more. That love would bloom in the most unexpected place, bringing both joy and heartbreak before it brought them back together again. For now. Though all she knew was that for the first time in years, someone was taking care of her, and it felt like coming home. 7 days of Discovery A week passed like a dream Natalie kept expecting to end. Each morning, she woke up in the guest bedroom with its impossibly soft sheets and views of Lake Michigan. Each morning, Dylan was already awake, either working in his home office or preparing breakfast in the kitchen. They fell into an easy rhythm. Natalie was not used to having nothing to do, so she helped around the penthouse despite Dylan's protests. She organized his chaotic bookshelf, watered the plants his housekeeper somehow kept forgetting, and insisted on cooking dinner at least 3 times. "You do not have to do this, Dylan," said one evening, watching her chop vegetables for stir-fry. "I know. But I want to feel useful. You have done so much for me. Let me do something for you. You are recovering. That is enough." Natalie pointed her knife at him playfully. "Stop being so stubborn and hand me that cutting board." Dylan smiled, a real smile that reached his eyes and transformed his usually serious face. Natalie felt her heart skip. She was starting to notice things about him. The way he ran his hand through his hair when he was thinking, the small scar above his left eyebrow. How his voice softened when he talked about Grace. That night, after dinner, they sat on the balcony despite the cold. Dylan had brought out thick blankets and hot chocolate. The city sparkled below them, a sea of light stretching to the horizon. "Tell me about Grace," Natalie said softly. Dylan was quiet for a long moment, staring at the steam rising from his mug. "She was 3 years younger than me, always smiling, always seeing the best in people. She wanted to teach because she believed education could change lives." He paused. "She was right, you know? Her students loved her. I have letters from parents, from kids whose lives she touched. But the school could barely pay her enough to survive." She sounds wonderful. She was. "When she got sick, I had just started my real estate business. I was barely making enough to keep my own apartment. I tried to get loans, tried everything, but by the time I had the money, she was gone." His hands tightened around the mug. "I swore that day that I would never let money be the reason someone I cared about suffered again." Natalie reached over and touched his hand. "She would be proud of who you have become." Dylan looked at her hand on his, then up at her face. "Would she? Sometimes I think I built all this to fill the emptiness she left behind, but nothing ever does." "You are not supposed to fill it. Maybe you are just supposed to carry it and let it make you kinder." Dylan turned his hand over, lacing his fingers through hers. The touch sent electricity up Natalie's arm. "When did you become so wise?" "When I had to grow up at 17 after my dad left. Wisdom is just another word for survival." They sat like that, hands intertwined, until the cold drove them inside. Neither mentioned the touch or what it might mean, but something had shifted between them, something deeper than gratitude or kindness. The arrival of Christine Pomerthray days later. Natalie was reading on the couch when the doorbell rang. Dylan was in a video conference in his office, so she answered it without thinking. The woman standing in the hallway was stunning. Tall and slender, with perfectly styled blonde hair and designer clothes that probably cost more than Natalie made in 6 months. Her blue eyes swept over Natalie with undisguised disdain. "Who are you?" the woman asked, her tone sharp. "I am a guest of Dylan's. Can I help you?" "A guest." The woman's perfectly shaped eyebrows rose. "How interesting. Tell Dylan that Christine is here. He will want to see me." Before Natalie could respond, the woman pushed past her into the penthouse. She removed her coat and draped it over a chair like she owned the place, then turned to study Natalie more carefully. "Let me guess. Another charity case?" Dylan always did have a hero complex. "Excuse me?" Christine smiled, but it did not reach her eyes. "Do not take it personally, dear. Dylan has a pattern. He finds struggling women, swoops in to save them, feels good about himself for a while, then moves on when the novelty wears off." Natalie felt her stomach drop. "That is not what this is." "Really? So you are not some poor girl he rescued?" You are not staying in his home, eating his food, letting him pay your bills? Heat flooded Natalie's cheeks. He offered to help my mother. Of course he did. He probably told you about Grace too, did he not? The tragic sister story. It works every time. That is cruel. Grace was real. His pain is real. Christine waved a dismissive hand. Oh, the pain is real enough. But Dylan uses it as an excuse to play hero instead of actually dealing with his issues. Trust me, I was engaged to the man for 2 years. I know him better than anyone. The office door opened. Dylan emerged, saw Christine, and his entire body went rigid. What are you doing here? Hello, darling. Christine's voice turned honey-sweet. I was in the neighborhood and thought I would stop by. I see you have company. Dylan moved to stand beside Natalie, a protective gesture that did not go unnoticed by Christine. Her eyes narrowed. Christine, you need to leave. So protective. Tell me, Dylan, does this one know she looks exactly like Grace? Or is that part of the appeal? Natalie felt like she had been slapped. What? Oh, you did not notice? Christine pulled out her phone, scrolled through photos, then held it out. This was at Dylan's office last year. That is Grace's photo on his desk. Natalie took the phone with shaking hands. The photo showed a young woman with dark hair and warm brown eyes. The smile was different. The face, not identical. But the resemblance was there. The same coloring, similar features, the same build. She looked up at Dylan, searching his face. Is this true? Do I look like her? Dylan's jaw clenched. There is some resemblance. Yes, some resemblance. Christine laughed. Darling, she could be Grace's twin. That is why you picked her up off the street, is it not? That is why you brought her here, dressed her in nice clothes, fed her. You are trying to replace what you lost. That is enough, Dylan said, his voice dangerously low. But Christine was not finished. She turned to Natalie with false sympathy. I am sorry you had to find out this way, but you deserve to know the truth. You are not special to him. You are just a substitute for the sister he could not save. Once he works through his guilt, he will discard you like all the others. There were no others, Dylan said through gritted teeth. Really? What about that teacher in Boston? The waitress in Miami? You have a type, Dylan. Struggling brunettes who remind you of Grace. You swoop in, play hero for a few weeks, then disappear when the fantasy fades. Natalie set the phone down carefully. Her hands were trembling. Is any of that true? Dylan ran a hand through his hair, that gesture she had come to recognize as frustration. I helped people before, yes, but not like Christine is suggesting. And you are not a substitute for Grace. But I do remind you of her. At first, maybe. But Natalie, that is not why I care about you now. How can I believe that? How do I know I am not just some project to make you feel better about your sister? Christine picked up her coat, satisfied with the damage she had done. Think about it, dear. A wealthy man does not just bring home random women out of pure kindness. There is always an angle. She looked at Dylan. Call me when you are done playing house. We have unfinished business. She left in a cloud of expensive perfume. The silence she left behind was suffocating. Cracks in the foundation, Natalie walked to the window. Arms wrapped around herself. The city looked different now, less magical, more cold. Why did you not tell me I looked like her? Dylan came up behind her, but did not touch her. Because after the first day, I stopped seeing the resemblance. I started seeing you. But it was there. That was why you stopped. That was why you helped, Dylan admitted quietly. When I first saw you on that sidewalk for just a moment, I saw Grace. That is what made me stop when everyone else walked by. But Natalie, what happened after that, getting to know you these past days, that has nothing to do with my sister. Natalie turned to face him. How can I be sure? How do I know you see me and not some ghost you are trying to save? Because Grace was nothing like you. She was soft where you are strong. She trusted easily where you fight for every inch. She never would have called me out the way you do, never would have insisted on cooking dinner or organizing my books or challenging my opinions. Maybe you just want me to be different. Maybe that is part of the fantasy. Dylan stepped closer, his gray eyes intense. You think I am playing a game? That I brought you here as some kind of twisted therapy? I do not know what to think anymore. Then let me make it clear. He was right in front of her now. Yes, you reminded me of Grace that first moment. But you are not her. You are Natalie, the woman who survived on her own for years. The woman who sent every penny to her mother, even when she was starving. The woman who makes terrible jokes when she is nervous and hums while she cooks. That is who I see when I look at you. His hands came up to frame her face, gentle but firm. That is who I think about every morning when I wake up. That is who makes me want to be better than I am. Natalie's breath caught. Dylan, I'm falling for you, Natalie. Not Grace's ghost. You. Then he kissed her. His lips were warm and soft, the kiss tender but filled with longing. Natalie froze for half a second, then melted into him. Her hands gripped his shirt as his arms wrapped around her, pulling her close. The kiss deepened, years of loneliness and pain dissolving in the connection between them. The morning after Natalie woke before dawn, her decision firm despite the ache in her chest. She packed her few belongings quietly, folding the borrowed clothes and leaving them on the bed. She changed back into her diner uniform, the fabric rough against her skin after days of softness. She wrote a note on the kitchen counter. Thank you for everything. Please do not contact me. I need to find my own way. The surgery funds for my mother are more than enough. I will never forget your kindness. She looked around the penthouse one last time. Through the window, Chicago was just beginning to wake up, the sky turning pink and gold. Somewhere in this beautiful space, Dylan was sleeping. She wanted to see him one more time, to memorize his face. But that would only make leaving harder. Natalie picked up her bag and walked out, closing the door softly behind her. In the elevator, she let herself cry. By the time she reached the street, she had wiped away the tears and squared her shoulders. This was the right choice. It had to be. Back to reality, Natalie's studio apartment felt even smaller after Dylan's penthouse. The radiator clanked, the walls were thin enough to hear neighbors arguing, and the view was of a brick wall. But it was hers, paid for with her own work. She called the diner and got her shifts back. Her manager was sympathetic after hearing she had been sick. That first day back, her feet ached and her back hurt, but there was something honest about it. She was not someone's charity case here. She was just Natalie, working hard to survive. But everything reminded her of Dylan, a customer's gray eyes, the smell of coffee, someone ordering pancakes. At night, alone in her bed, she relived that kiss over and over. Wondering what might have happened if she had stayed, her phone rang constantly for 3 days. Dylan's name lighting up the screen. She never answered. On the 4th day, a different number called Miss Brooks. This is Mr. Thompson from Texas Medical Center. I am calling about your mother's surgery. Natalie's heart stopped. Is something wrong? No, quite the opposite. The surgery was a complete success. Your mother is recovering beautifully. Dr. Martinez said it could not have gone better. She is asking for you. Relief flooded through her so intensely she had to sit down. Thank you. Thank you so much. The gentleman who arranged everything also paid for your travel. There is a plane ticket waiting for you at O'Hare whenever you are ready to use it. Even now, Dylan was taking care of her. Natalie closed her eyes, guilt and longing mixing into something painful. 2 days later, she was on a plane to Texas. A mother's wisdom. Rebecca Brooks looked small in the hospital bed, but her eyes were bright and clear. When she saw Natalie walk into the room, she burst into tears. Baby girl, you are here. Natalie rushed to her side, careful of the tubes and wires. Mom, I am so sorry I could not come sooner. Hush now. You are here now. That is what matters. Rebecca took her daughter's hand, studying her face. But something is wrong. I can see it in your eyes. You just had surgery. We should not talk about me, Natalie Marie Brooks. I am your mother. I can have surgery and still worry about my daughter. Now tell me what has got you looking so sad. So Natalie told her. About collapsing on the street, waking up in Dylan's home, the week they spent together, Christine's accusations, the kiss, and her decision to leave. Through it all, Rebecca listened without interrupting. When Natalie finished, Rebecca was quiet for a long moment. You ran away. I left to protect myself. Same thing, different words. Baby, you got scared and you ran. Mom, you did not hear what that woman said. What if I really am just a replacement for his dead sister? What if he does not actually see me? Did he act like you were a replacement? Natalie thought about the way Dylan looked at her, really looked at her, the way he listened when she talked, how he laughed at her terrible jokes, the intensity in his eyes when he said he was falling for her. No, she admitted quietly. Did he treat you like you were not good enough? No, he made me feel important. Did he try to control you or make you feel small? No, Mom. He was kind and respectful and real. Rebecca squeezed her hand. Then why are you here instead of with him? Because I am scared. What if I let myself love him and he leaves? What if I am not enough? Oh, honey. Rebecca's eyes filled with tears. You have been carrying the weight of the world since your daddy left. You have been so busy being strong that you forgot it is okay to let someone help carry the load. But what if I get hurt? You might. Love is always a risk. But baby, you are already hurt. You are hurt right now because you left someone who clearly cares about you. So the question is not whether you might get hurt. It is whether the love is worth the risk. Natalie wiped her eyes. When did you get so wise? I got wise watching my daughter sacrifice everything for me. Natalie, this man saved your life and mine. Not because he had to, but because he wanted to. That is rare. That is precious. Do not throw it away because you are scared. What if it is too late? What if he is angry that I left? Rebecca smiled. Then you apologize and fight for him the way he fought for you. Ain't the man at the window that afternoon. Natalie sat in the hospital cafeteria, drinking terrible coffee and trying to work up the courage to call Dylan. She had rehearsed what to say 100 times, but nothing sounded right. Excuse me, is this seat taken? Natalie looked up and froze. Dylan stood there, looking tired and rumpled in jeans and a wrinkled button-down shirt. His hair was messy, like he had been running his hands through it, and his eyes were shadowed with exhaustion. How did you know I was here? She whispered. I called the hospital to check on your mother's recovery. They mentioned you were visiting. He gestured to the chair. May I sit? Natalie nodded, not trusting her voice. Dylan sat down across from her, his hands wrapped around his own coffee cup. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. I am sorry, they both said at the same time. Dylan gave a small, sad smile. You first. I should not have left like that. It was cowardly. You deserved better than a note. No, I am sorry. I should have told you about the resemblance from the start. I should have been honest about what drew me to help you initially. Dylan, I understand why you did not. Do you? He leaned forward, his gray eyes intense. Because I have spent the last week replaying every conversation, every moment, wondering what I could have said to make you stay. It was not about you. It was about me being afraid of me, of getting hurt, of not being enough, of being a stand-in for someone you lost. Natalie took a shaky breath. My whole life, I have never been anyone's first choice. My dad left. My mom got sick and I had to be the strong one. Men I dated were just passing time until someone better came along. So when Christine said I was just another project, just someone who looked like your sister, it confirmed everything I already believed about myself. Dylan reached across the table and took her hand. You are wrong. About what? About not being enough. Natalie, you are more than enough. You are smart and strong and kind. You challenge me and make me laugh. You make me want to be better. He squeezed her hand. Yes, you reminded me of Grace that first day. But by the second day, I stopped seeing any resemblance. By the third day, I was looking forward to seeing you every morning. By the end of that week, I was falling in love with you. Natalie's breath caught. You love me? I am terrified of it, but yes, I love you. Not Grace's ghost. Not some charity case. You, Natalie Brooks. Tears streamed down Natalie's face. I love you too. That is why I ran. Because loving you felt too good to be true. Dylan stood and pulled her into his arms. She buried her face in his chest, breathing in his familiar scent. His heart beat steady and strong under her ear. I know I have baggage, he said into her hair. I know I used my wealth and my pain as a shield for years. But Natalie, you broke through all of that. You made me feel alive again. I am still scared, she admitted, too. But maybe we can be scared together. Natalie pulled back enough to look up at him. I am sorry I left. I am sorry I gave you reasons to doubt. So what do we do now? Dylan cupped her face in his hands, his thumbs wiping away her tears. Now we start over. No more running. No more doubts. Just us figuring this out together? That sounds nice? Yeah? He smiled, a real smile that lit up his whole face. Good. Because I flew 7 hours to get here, and I would really like to kiss you now. Natalie laughed through her tears. Then what are you waiting for? Dylan kissed her, soft and sweet and full of promise. Around them, the hospital cafeteria buzzed with life, but Natalie only felt him. This man who had saved her in more ways than one, this man who saw her, really saw her, loved her anyway. When they finally pulled apart, Dylan rested his forehead against hers. Come back to Chicago with me. I need to stay with my mom for a few more days. Then I will stay too. We will both take care of her. You would do that? Natalie, I would do anything for you. That is what love means. 6 months later, the June sun streamed through the windows of the community center. Natalie adjusted the banner that read Grace Ashford Memorial Scholarship Fund and smiled. It looks perfect, Dylan said from behind her. Wrapping his arms around her waist, your sister would have loved this. She would have loved you.